Yes, ma'am.
High blood pressure and African Caribbean.
High blood pressure?
Yeah.
Okay. That's a matter of the body increasing the pressure in order to increase the blood flow because there's not enough nutrients in the blood or oxygen in order to compensate for that deficit. The body increases the pressure in order to increase the blood flow. So it can stem from a nutritional deficiency, which can be caused by sugar and or salt, which robs the blood and the tissue and the veins and the arteries of nutrients. In the process of robbing the veins and the arteries and the nervous system of nutrients, it causes the lumen, the opening of the veins and arteries, to get smaller because the moisture comes out of the veins and arteries and nerves when you eat sugar and salt. It pulls the moisture out so that the opening to the veins and artery gets shorter, which is smaller, which reduces the blood flow to the tissue. So in order to get more blood flow, the body increases the blood supply. In order to increase the blood supply, the body increases the blood pressure. So technically, high blood pressure is the body fighting back to be well. It's fighting the only way it knows how to increase the nutrients, it has to increase the pressure. So we do things to lower the pressure. Traditionally, we use blood thinners like turmeric that you find in curry, or we use things with mustard oil in them, such as garlic, radish, ginger root, to thin the blood. There are also herbs that do that: butcher's broom, water chestnut, hyssop. I'm naming some herbs which I found right here in London, down in some shop off of Benny Street, Harbor, some street. I'll ask Pablo. Do you know that name of this shop I'm talking about? That? Yeah, it's on a London street. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's on Atlantic.
Oh, yeah, by the Elf Food Shop on Atlantic Road. Right next to the beer crate.
There's beer there?
No, beer crate.
Oh. No wonder you have high blood pressure. So I would suggest those herbs, in particular the curry or cumin. Marjoram is good for that. You heard of these things? Marjoram is a seasoning. Coriander, that's good for thinning the blood. This apple spice seasoning, used to spice apple pies, whatever. Yes, there's a seasoning that thins the blood as well, if you can't get to the herbs that I mentioned. But traditionally, people just use what we call garlic and cayenne. But cayenne tends to be hot coming in and hot coming out. It'll burn a hole in your ass, so you have to be careful there. Any more questions? Yes. I'll just do the front row, go to the back row. Did you have a question?
Yeah. Do you have cayenne and garlic together, or is it separate?
You use all of these herbs together simultaneously. Sometimes black people have a tendency to express pressure through the heart, whereas white people express pressure through the kidneys. So you would have to do something for your heart, which would be hawthorn berries, to help strengthen the heart. The heart gets exceptionally weak, and you may have to strengthen the left chamber of the heart, in which case you're going to have to use something like a testosterone, which is traditionally used for sex stimulant. Testosterone. It comes in cream and it comes in tablet, but it rebuilds muscle tissue. But in the process of rebuilding muscle tissue, it will cause you to be sexually aroused, so you may not want to be horny and have high blood pressure. I don't know where you want to go with that, but it will repair the heart, that's for sure. It's also good for sagging skin. When your skin loses elasticity, you can get the cream and rub on the skin, and it will build up the muscles and get back the elasticity of the tissue. but again, the side effect is sexual arousal. Yes, you had a question on the second one.
I heard one of your earlier audio recordings. You were talking about if you have a craving for sugar, a certain herb that you can take to actually decrease that craving and eventually eliminate it from the system. Just need to know the name of the herbs you were referring to.
Oh, I said that. That's nice. There are quite a few herbs again. The one I saw in that herb shop was quassia, which is good for that, along with chickweed, which is good for controlling cravings. Chickweed and quassia. It's Quassia. He was a black man that the Portuguese chased around till they found the name of the herb and then they killed it in South America. But they did name the herb after they killed it. You got that?
Yeah.
But you can't eat salt. If you eat salt, you're gonna crave sugar. That's why they put salt in every candy bar. Salt makes you crave sugar. Sugar makes you crave salt. So it's a kind of seesaw addiction.
Does that include any natural sea salts, or is that just the processed salts that you know?
Well, the salt that people are talking about is sodium chloride,
Okay.
and sodium chloride is sea salt. So you don't want to eat sea salt or table salt in any form. You don't want to eat salty things like spirulina. Too much salt in it causes the moisture to come out your veins and arteries and nervous system, cause the same damage. So the chickweed and the quassia would be beneficial, but you have to come off of things that turn into sugar very quickly, like white potatoes and white rice and bleached white flour. They turn into sugar too quickly, and they will, of course, cause that same craving once again. And to understand that sugar is associated with the emotion of love. So sometimes if you're having problems loving yourself or loving your relationship or loving your job or loving white people, that require a lot of sugar. It will make you crave sugar to medicate your deficiency in receiving or giving love, so it's attached to that emotion. But you should do all right. Women usually crave sugar just when the estrogen level drops. Just before menstruation, the estrogen level drops and the progesterone level increases. And progesterone makes the body want to build cells. So to build cells, you need sugar. But the sugar should come with fats like raw almond butter or sesame butter or something. But they crave the carbohydrate. And the most highest form of sugar you can get is chocolate. So they crave chocolate because the estrogen levels drop because they don't have a stable estrogen level. Probably because their liver is compromised by sugar or salt or alcohol, vinegar or something like that. But you don't have that problem. You're not a woman. So. Yes, sir.
Yeah, what's the best way of controlling stress? And is there any deficiency that causes it?
Stress?
Yeah.
Emotional, spiritual, physical, just stress in general.
Yeah.
How to control stress in general. Okay, not physical, but how to control stress. But moving from London is out of the question? Okay. Yeah, okay, then we're going to have a problem here. Usually the more oxygen you get to the cells, the better the cells are able to defend themselves. And that will require deep breathing, taking a lot of chlorophyll out in liquid form, or eating raw leaves of some sort, vegetables. And also we use the supplements like coenzyme Q10. You heard of that? No. It's an enzyme that helps the cells pick up more oxygen. Coenzyme Q10. Primarily I use that for people that are stressed, like school teachers and postal workers in the U.S. They get very stressed, and I have a lot of them on that. Living in London is stressful because of the polluted air, polluted water, and the pollution that your brains bring to you from the radiation and the fumes that they have on their body. a person works around computers, they magnetize the radiation in their system, and they can bring radiation to you, which can stress your system. Well, you need to get a diode or polarizer to neutralize the radiation from the computer or mobile, because radiation drive is very dry and it causes nerve damage and it causes cancer. So you would need a polarizer, and you get that from toolsforwellness.com. Can you do that? Tools, TOOLS, for wellness.com, and get a polarizer or a diode or bioelectric shield. And that will protect you from the radiation from mobiles, television, monitors, scanners, train tracks from the tube, concrete. The gas pedal of your car, which causes a lot of radiation, get transmitted into your leg, and it also gives off a little arsenic too, for that matter. But no worry, you're gonna die anyway. You have London eventually. So let's do the best you can. Yes, Patrick.
Yeah. I remember you mentioning in one of your videos that, I remember you mentioning in one of your videos that there's about 30 chemicals in salt, added to salt.
Yes.
30, but like, could you name a few of them and what the harm that they cause?
Well, I'm going to show you some of those chemicals when I do the transparency. Glycol is in it, which you would call antifreeze. And then they have ammonia in it, which helps carry other chemicals. Ammonia is known as a buffer, it helps deliver other chemicals. That's why they put it in tap water and cigarettes. It helps deliver chemicals to your system. It's a buffer, so it delivers the fluoride and chloride better that's in the table salt. All the chemicals that I mentioned basically cause cancer, but that's
Ferrocyanide, is it? Ferrocyanide?
Yeah, ferrocyanide and thimerosal. Those are just what you call lighter fluid that you light your Bic or whatever with. That's in Morton's table salt and most commercial salts for that matter. Yes, sir.
I've got a question to ask, but just before going, if any brothers are sitting down, there's some sisters that stand up, so if you could just free up your seat and just make the sister that just rest them tired, that would be nice, yeah? What I wanted to ask you, Doctor, could you give an explanation between the different blood types and in relation to the food types that we eat?
Well, it's basically functional scientific bullshit, but it plays well in books, so I review that in my book, Nutricide. Actually, it's based on the philosophy or the belief that white people existed 30,000 years ago, and they haven't found them to be around that long. But in any case, people like these little mythological things. People more or less believe in fiction before they believe in a fact. So I don't argue with people when they believe in these things. If they believe in dyeing their hair purple and phoning up their mother in a telephone booth, so be it. I don't argue with beliefs at all. That's a religious way of conquering ideas to me. You see, the structure of the body itself and the muscles themselves, as we were talking, I was talking earlier about, someone was asking me about bodybuilding, why the Europeans build these bodies like they do. And it has something to do with their religious systems, just like karate comes out of religious systems. It's how you physically actualize your belief of not putting any resistance, trying to fight nature. You want to go with nature. So to instill that kind of thinking process in you, you go through these karate movements. Because karate comes out of a religious system. Well, the bodybuilding itself comes out of a religious system. I'll just go over one or two things. The mythological names for the muscle: latimus, dorsal, rectus femoral, rectus spinae, deltoids, trapezoids, pectoralis muscles, vagina, penis, testicles. All of these names originally were names of Nordics and Greek and Roman gods. They named the body after their religious system. You have the trapezoid muscle, which I think you all probably are familiar with. We do some familiar kind of muscles. You have the trapezoid muscle and the deltoid. You've heard of those? And you've heard of the pectoralis muscle, this here, your pecs as they call it. And you've heard of the, I'll just use those. So I would just tell a story. And I'm going to use the muscles in the story because it's where the muscles names come from. So there was this abandoned child named Hercules. And Hercules had 7 challenges in his life to become an adult. And some people call them the 7 deadly sins: lust, greed, envy. You've heard of these? Jealousy. I don't want to lose anyone. So he had to overcome them to actualize himself, to be a human being, as it were. So one of his challenges was to go through this swamp. But the swamp was guarded by a 3-headed crab monster named Hydra. So Hydra was guarding the swamp, and Hercules couldn't get through because Hydra was trying to kill Hercules. But Hercules' brother, Helios, came and said, look, I'll just cut off this crab monster's head, and that way you can go through this swamp. And that's the story. Sounds pretty good, right? Now I'll go back and give you the names that we associate with these particular muscles. And so we have Hercules' brother named Helios. And Helios was by a watery swamp. And we have an ileocecal valve that separates your large intestines from your small intestines, which is in a watery area called your small intestine, large intestine. And the 3-headed crab monster, Hydra, that's where you get the word fire hydrant. Hydrochloride means water. So he killed the 3-headed crab monster, but in medicine we don't say head, we say sep. So you have bicep, which is 2 heads, and tricep. That's where you get the names of these muscles. Bicep, tricep. He trapped the crab monster, trapezoid, in the deltoid swamp. Trapezoid, deltoid, bicep, tricep. See, the muscles are named after Greek gods. And so in that system of worshiping, if you want to elevate yourself further in a higher plane, like with the god Latissimus, you develop your latissimus muscle, which looks like a wing when you open your arm. That's why they developed that muscle. They're trying to fly away from their fears. And the most powerful escape artist that they knew at one time was the bat that lived in the caves with them. That's why they try to develop this latissimus muscle, because of the symbolic ability to escape danger they associated with the bat, who could fly away with a latissimus muscle. But nonetheless, that's part of those stories. And that's why they develop those muscles, because it goes back to their belief system. Because they concretize their social system and their sexual system in the caves, which you can see in Nottingham, correct? You go there, they have them bricked up, but they're there. We're about ready to do this. Oh yeah, a few moments and we're going to do it over here, yeah. So I'll answer a couple more questions and I'll go to the transparency plan. Any more? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Yes, madam.
Glaucoma curable.
Glaucoma? Oh, simple, yeah. Well, you want to dilate the veins, and so you can get that fluid out of the eyeball, because the fluid stays in the eyeball, because the eyeball is stiff and the veins and arteries are stiff, and they're not able to, flexible enough to milk the fluid out. So what you want to accomplish with this glaucoma is to dilate the veins and arteries, and things that dilate would be a herb like hyssop, Hyssop, hyssop. It dilates. Another dilator would be niacinamide. That's niacin, Niacin, amide, Amide, niacinamide. It dilates. Another dilator would be histidine. That's an amino acid. Histidine, histidine. but you have to basically figure you have to double whatever the labels have. Because on the label it's called a serving. That's not a therapeutic dosage. That's a serving. And since the herbs and vitamins are classified as food, every food must have a serving on it. If you buy, if you buy rice, it will tell you 1 cup to 1 bowl. They have to put a serving on all foods. So since the vitamins are considered a food, those dosages on the label are servings. They are not therapeutic dosages. So you would basically have to double what's on the label. With the histidine, you're looking at least about 2,000 milligrams. But if you take 2,000 milligrams at night before bedtime, it's a tendency to cause erection, even though that's not your problem at this time. But it will enhance your orgasm as well if you're having problems that way. Otherwise, just enjoy the histidine. That's all I have to say. Yes.
Fluoride in toothpaste. Why do they put it in toothpaste, and what are the benefits of?
Why do they put fluoride in toothpaste? Primarily because they did it in the U.S. first, and the cities that started using fluoride first had the highest cavity rates. All the cities that have the highest amount of fluoride in the water has the highest cavity rates. Fluoride was originally put in the water in the U.S., and then Hitler studied it and put it in the water for Jews. That chemical tends to make people docile, easier to manage and control. It also rots out your teeth and damages your nerves and all that little stuff. But all synthetic chemicals have a side effect. It was made by white people in specific, but when it was made, it has a side effect, irregardless to what the chemical is called. Be it aspirin, you follow me? Be it the synthetic water that you drink, which is recycled toilet water with deodorizers in it. Nylon underwear, which stops the oxygen from getting to the vagina and spikes a yeast infection. Any synthetic thing, synthetic canicolon that they use for false hair, which is that stuff they make out leather shoes from, that gets absorbed into the tissue and causes cancer and messes with the skin, messes with the eyes. It's like wearing a rubber tire on your head. But it looks good. But it will kill you, because all synthetics have a side effect. Yes? What to combat multiple sclerosis? Multiple sclerosis is classified as a nerve disease. It's the damage of the nervous system. Those things that damage the nervous system, number 1 is aspartame, which people call NutraSweet, artificial sweetness. It burns out the nerves. That's one of the main causes of multiple sclerosis. Other things that damage the nerves are Tylenol, aspirin, birth control pills, condoms, toothpaste, sugar, salt, vinegar, alcohol, the chemicals in toilet paper. You can wipe your ass crazy if you want. The bleach in tampons, Kotex, and Pampers. Most of those things damage the nerves. So to heal the nerves, we use a supplement called lipoic acid. Lipoic. You're looking at about 300 milligrams at the least twice a day. Another supplement that heals nerve damage is called glutamine. Glutamine. But you're in the range of about 2,000 milligrams. It also increases your memory, increases the blood flow to the prostate and the uterus as well. Glutamine, lipoic acid, and for nerve damage. Nerve damage diseases are lupus, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and senility. All of those are nerve damage, so if anyone has Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, lupus, multiple sclerosis, or senility, they use the same treatment. I didn't hear you on that last one. I don't understand your English as opposed to my English. Am I speaking better English than you?
Do you say that you think that serapeptics, you know, fever, it's good for MS.
You still need a driver, and that hasn't been verified to heal, but it is good, but it hasn't been verified to heal. The ones I mentioned have been verified to heal nerve damage. You also would need a herb like feverfew, which strengthens the nerve. Feverfew, R.I.P, which is good for Parkinson's. So you would combine R.I.P with feverfew to strengthen the nervous system. I would probably put some skull cap in there myself. That's just my preference. Yes?
What is the negative effects of drinking soy?
Not that I know of. I don't know of a cow that dropped dead from it yet. It's the commercial processing, the chemicals they put in the soybeans. They normally do not test organic food in these labs, first of all. And the thing that we have to understand is we're dealing with Europeans. So what they do is they take a chemical out of the soybean and test that chemical and come to the conclusion, since that chemical that they made from the soybean is harmful, therefore the soybean is harmful. It's the same as taking asparagus. You've heard of that?
Yeah.
You take asparagus, you test the chemical in asparagus, you say this chemical in asparagus is harmful, therefore you should not eat asparagus. The chemical in asparagus is called arsenic. And anyone with heart trouble should eat asparagus at least twice a week. That's a given. But if you take the arsenic out of the asparagus, it will kill you. But as long as the arsenic is in this asparagus, it won't hurt you. They took a chemical out of the soybean, said that was harmful, and therefore the whole soybean is harmful. That's European. That's allopathic chemistry. You gotta know whether they're using allopathic chemistry, naturopathic chemistry, African chemistry, Chinese chemistry. You gotta know what chemistry they're using, because there's not one chemistry in the world. There's not one language, not one song, not one dance, not one country, not one tree. There's not one chemistry. But if you went to a European school, they teach you the only chemistry is my chemistry. And anybody practices anything else is unscientific and primitive. That's how arrogant they are. You know these people.
So would you recommend a bit of a brand of soy?
No, as long as it's organic, no problem. Yes.
You suggest remedies to cure or eliminate fibroids?
Fibroid tumors. Fibroid tumors are bumps in the fiber. So we say it's fiber-like, and that's fibroid. And we don't use the word bump internally. When the bump is internal, we say cyst and tumor. When the bump is outside, we call it a bump, corbuncle, herpes, something else. We ain't gonna call it a cyst or tumor. So we have a bump inside of the tissue, fiber tissue, of the muscular tissue of the uterus. Now, we have to understand that the uterus itself is not the cause of this issue. The uterus is used to dump waste. The body will dump waste out of any hole it can find. It dumps waste out of your asshole, out of your penis, any hole that's available, out of your nose. You have sinus, you know what I'm saying? Your nose is running, the body's dumping waste. So the body says, I'll use whatever hole is around and I'll dump the waste. That's essentially what's going on. And the uterus was not made to shit in. Follow me? So what we're talking about, you know, I was told I should have a stiff upper lip because I'm in London. And talk more professional and all that sort of thing. But I want everybody to know I am professional. I went to school. Just because I was raised in an estate, what we call a ghetto projects, doesn't mean I'm not educated. Nonetheless, you're dumping shit in your uterus. So what we're trying to do is to stop that sort of thing from happening. So we got to go back to make the diet healthy, but I'm going to do that later. Right now, I'm just dealing with a crisis. I got a crisis. The person ain't going to listen to a thing I say until I deal with the crisis. That's how it is. You got a headache, person going to tell you, well, maybe you should drink more water. The hell with that, get rid of the headache. Got it? So what I'm going to do is give you the herbs to shrink the fibroid first. Then I'm going to give you the herbs to dissolve the fibroid second. Got it? Now, I've seen these herbs in that shop, so don't say you don't have them here. Pablo, what's the name of that shop we went to that had those herbs?
Brixton Whole Foods.
Brixton Whole Foods. The herbs were there. I saw them, so don't say they ain't here. Witch hazel. Witch hazel, not that stuff in a bottle. This is witch hazel, it's a herb, it's green. Shepherd's purse. Wild alum root. Wild alum, A-L-U-M, alum. You mix all of those herbs together in equal parts, it will shrink the tumor. Now if you want to dissolve the tumor, you have to use a herb called burdock root. Heard of that? Horsetail. Burdock root, horsetail. Got it? Mix all of those together and take at least 2 glasses a day. Now if you have a blender, then you take those herbs and put it in a blender and pulverize it until it's a powder. And get yourself some cocoa butter. Have you heard of that? You melt the cocoa butter, put the herbs in it, and shape it like a suppository, and put it in the fridge on some wax papers or some kind of saran wrap or something, and then insert that suppository at night, but wear a sanitary napkin because it's going to melt and leak out. And that way you're putting the herbs directly after fibroid. You can also mix all of those herbs together, pulverize them in a blender, and mix them in clay. And then make a mixture of that and put it in between cloth and put it over the uterus itself, but you have to tape it on. Put saran wrap over it and then tape it over the uterus itself. And you can do that at night. Your uterus is about 5 fingers like this below the navel. That's usually the top of the uterus, which we call the fundus. So that's where the uterus is if you're having problems finding it. I know a man can find it for you real quick. Yeah, I was going to sit down.
I'm going to turn on the fan.
Yeah, turn on the
Can they use
fan.
it while they're pregnant?
Yes.
Clay, no clay.
The clay you get from the health food store at Brixton, whatever the name of the place. But if you're pregnant, you have to use red raspberry leaves with any herb. Otherwise, you cannot take the herb. You have to mix red raspberry and any herb if you're pregnant, or otherwise, don't even mess with it. We went through this thing before. You know, we have to develop the science of communicating. And you want to soften the way you do things. One of the ways to soften the way you do things in the science of communication is don't look someone in the eye, look them above the eye or below the eye when you're talking to them. And when you finish what you're saying, then look them in the eye. That's just part of the science of talking. And if you point with one finger, it's too threatening. You have to soothing what you do. You point with 2 fingers, cushion what you do. So let's use the science of talking here. And don't stick up that finger either. Soften that with 2 fingers. Thank you, brother. I enjoyed that fan. Yes, ma'am. I was just going off in the sidebar just to get, you know. Thank you.
Contraception for women.
Contraceptives for women. Contraceptives for men as well.
We're not together.
You're not together? If you were, y'all got big problems. Well, I think chanting is out. Saying an affirmation is the hell out of the window there. Basically, contraceptive is usually better practiced by men because anything else is going to be terribly harmful on the woman. Birth control pills, all that sort of thing is just terribly harmful. Condoms is terribly harmful. Chemicals leak out of the condom once you have all that friction going on. The chemicals leak out of the condom. The talc causes cysts and tumors. The gel leaks out, that causes cancer. So that's something that was made by man, so it has a side effect. So what we're talking about is Maybe we should just hold this for tonight when it's better, eh? We're talking about understanding when you're fertile. Is that what we want to do? In that case, you have to take your basal temperature in the morning before you get out of bed. When the temperature rises about 2 to 3 degrees, that's when you're fertile. Like if your temperature is normally 97.2, when it goes to 97.4, you're fertile. So you don't want to go there. The other system to use is ejaculation instead of ejaculation. But if the fella has a weak prostate, it's going to leak out semen. Even if he doesn't ejaculate, he'll still get pregnant. So the prostate has to be healthy for this system to work. So he's going to need some saw palmetto. Saw palmetto, S-A-W, palmetto, like palm tree, palmetto, saw palmetto. He has to take that to strengthen his prostate so he won't leak semen. So in ejaculation, he reaches the orgasmic state and then takes his penis out of the vagina and says a mantra or something until he calms down, like, I wasn't perfect, I'm going to try to be a perfect person, life is going to be perfect because I'll live perfect. He just can't say, oh Jesus, and stick it back in. He's got to, say a mantra until he calms himself down there. Otherwise, he has to take sage, something that's very drying. A lot of the ancient guys who couldn't do that simply sat in a hot tub basin of water and just boiled their sperm and killed it. They just fried up the sperm in their testicles. But the water has to be pretty hot and just about roasting your balls at that point. But it will kill the sperm, that's for sure. What'd you say? Well, it won't kill your balls forever, brother. They'll live again. Yes, temporary. Totally temporary. Stop. The machine is dead. Oh. Due to technical difficulty, I won't have to be showing you any transparencies. So we're just going to have to stop for the moment, and I'll just go into a formal talk. Okay? All died, eh?
So we could just try and have some. He doesn't speak that loud, Look at Yankee accent is kind of sweet.
Yeah, that'll work. So what I'm going to talk about at this point is how the body heals itself. No matter what the malady is, disease is, the body has one process that it uses to heal itself. It's sort of like running on Windows 95. It doesn't upgrade, it doesn't change. You have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 arms. There's no change in this system. So basically, once you learn this system, you don't have to learn it anymore. Now, fundamentally, the body digests things. The body eats air. These convolutions you have spins the air so you can digest it. Your ear would not work on my head. I would not be able to hear well. This helps convolute the air so I can digest it because your body actually eats the air. You digest the air, which you call sound, and you also digest the air, which you call breathing. Your body breaks the air down into tubules and bronchioles until it gets it down to a level where it can metabolize it, because I cannot metabolize the air that you breathe. It's on a different frequency, has a different ratio of gases. So your lungs are putting it on the right ratio of gases for your personality. Just like this is different, your lungs are different. So you can breathe the air for yourself. Because all air is not the same. To you, you're just breathing clean air. Or you're pretending you're breathing clean air. But it's not the same air. It's like if it snows here, you just call it snow. To you, it's snow. But if you go to Alaska and talk to an Eskimo, he can tell you puff snow, dry snow, wet snow, windy snow, because there are different degrees of snow. But we just say snow. But there are different degrees of air. You just say air. So you're digesting these things. But none of these things become a part of your body. Sound cannot become a part of your body. Light cannot become a part of your body. Food cannot become a part of your body. You eat the food, you break it down, and the food stimulates your cells either negatively or positively. But you cannot eat an apple and become an apple. The food just stimulates your body, but it cannot become a part of your body. That's what we call a transplant. So we have to be clear on this myths that we have about the body and understand the difference between what is nature and what is Mother Nature. We have to separate a Mother Nature philosophy from nature itself. Each culture has a Mother Nature philosophy that it uses to help them to understand what's going on in the environment, understand God, understand themselves, and they have these things called a Mother Nature philosophy. The Indians have a different Mother Nature philosophy. The Chinese think their spirit was up in their liver, descended down to their pelvic girdle, so every time you find a Chinese remedy, it's going to have something about the liver. Because that's their belief system. That's their Mother Nature philosophy. But nature has nothing to do with Mother Nature philosophies. Nature doesn't care anything about them. Nature has very strict laws. One of those laws are, if you stop breathing, you're dead. Very strict laws. You cannot be half sick and half healthy. Either you're sick or you're healthy. Nature doesn't play in between. Either you're pregnant or you're not pregnant. There's no in between. You can't be pregnant in remission. Remission is a social term. You can't have cancer in remission. Either you have cancer or you don't have cancer. But you can't have cancer in remission. That's just a social belief. So we have to separate the social beliefs from what is actually going on in the system. And I'm just talking about what's going on in the system. The system is like skin. The eyes are skin. To you, they're eyes, but to the body, it's nothing but skin. So when the skin is damaged, be it the skin of your intestines, your liver, your heart, your eyes, when the skin is damaged, the process is always the same. If you damage your skin by cutting it or burning it, the body rushes these nutrients to it that you call pus. It's full of a lot of minerals to heal the skin that's torn, that's been damaged. So the body rushes these nutrients to that area, and then to speed up the healing, it increases the heat. It's like when you're running, if you want to increase the circulation, when you're running, you increase the heat, increase the circulation. So the body increases the heat to increase the circulation, increase the nutrients coming into the damaged skin. That's what you call an inflammation. The inflammation heats the skin, but it also makes it soft, so it can mend together. That's why it heats it up, makes it soft, brings nutrients to it, so it can mend. But you keep moving the skin, and the body can't mend it. So the next step that the body takes is to stiffen the area, which you call a scab. It grows over this damaged skin. That's stiff. The scab is very stiff to immobilize the tissue so it can heal. To speed up this nutrient, you get a dark ring around this burn or cut, and that's melanin. Melanin is a free radical scavenger. It gets rid of a lot of waste and stuff. It's always present whenever you're generating new tissue. A lady usually gets that for the men when they're pregnant. They get this dark negrita line down their stomach because they're generating new tissue. That's the process. So if the eyes get stiff, like the lady was asking about glaucoma, we know that the tissue gets stiff when it's trying to immobilize, stop moving so it can be healed. So the eyes were attempting to heal itself. That's why they got stiff. Glaucoma is the body fighting to be well. But since we were taught by the Europeans, everything the body does is wrong. Everything, if you got a headache, they're going to say stop the headache. If your nose is running, they're going to clog up your system and keep the snot in there. Now the snot has to find another way to come out. They're going to give you a cough suppressant. But you need the cough, because when you cough, it shakes your chest and loosens up the mucus. That's why you cough. Coughing is your body fighting to be well. But the Europeans figure anything the body doing is a damn mistake. You see? And anything close to natural, like you, is also a mistake. So we're looking at a process, and the body uses this process. And we like to intervene in this process with all kind of things like Tylenol, aspirin, all of these different concoctions that poison the body. They don't nourish the body. There's no natural thing in your body called acetylsalicylic acid, aspirin. That's not a natural component of your body. So when you run out of aspirin in your body, you get a headache. That would be the conclusion, but that's not true. But if you follow this European logic, you will probably be dead. The logic is like this. Your body's trying to be well. You're eating foods in the wrong combination, eating cheese with meat and cheese with bread, which constipates your system. Nobody does that here, of course. I'm just talking about a mythological person. So we're talking about you eating cheese with things, and we know cows don't eat cheese. We know cows don't even eat ice cream. Cows don't even eat yogurt, and the stuff comes from them, but they're not as stupid as you are. So they don't eat the stuff. You put that in front of them, they're going to say, move that stuff, move, move, move. So this kind of stuff constipates the body. It keeps the mucus in. So the body says, I'm going to get rid of this mucus so I can stay alive despite this fool is in charge. So it throws the waste out of a hole, like we mentioned before. It found a hole, the nose, some hole somewhere to dump this waste, and now you got the mucus coming out of your nose. And of course they say your nose is running, which I have never understood. But that goes with their belief and philosophy. Like when you sneeze, they say your soul will fall out your nose and you will die if you sneeze. So if you sneeze and you don't die, they say, God bless you. So you sneeze, you say, God bless you. Are you crazy? So the body is always attempting to be well. It's not fighting itself. But their belief is such that we follow it. That's the only one we've been taught. That's the only one we know. So I don't fault anybody for following it. So they say that you are going down the street and a germ jumps on you and gives you a cold. So they say you had caught a cold. Then, so the logic is like this. You're healthy enough to catch a cold, but the only time you can get rid of a cold is when you're sick, right? If you're sick for 3 days, then you get rid of a cold. You catch a cold when you're healthy, but the only way you can get rid of a cold is to be sick. So that means you should stay sick all the time. There's something wrong about this picture. So we're following all of these beliefs. It's our following of another culture's Mother Nature philosophy. This is their belief system. But we don't see it as a belief system. We're following their belief system, and that's what's getting us in trouble. Because they don't know anything about the human body at all. Never will know anything about it because you have to be spiritual to know the human body. You have to be in the God to know this thing. This is God's property. You see? But they believe it's some kind of evil force inside of you that's trying to destroy your body. And you got to tame this evil force with a greater evil. And that greater evil is that pus that they put in a needle to give you a vaccination. They said that beat up an evil, it takes the evil. So they put an evil in your body to kill the evil. And they call it a vaccination and inoculation, which is mostly just a pus suit. The Queen of England, the first queen, slut that she was, she used to drink a bowl of pus a year. She took one bath a year and was the healthiest white woman in England. That's correct. So nonetheless, we're talking about understanding that the body is God's property and God ain't going to do nothing to destroy something that He made. Everything it's going to give you is going to help you to stay healthy. So we have to go back and say, wait a minute. Let me see. If a bacteria can't give me a cold, a virus can't give me a cold, how do I get a cold? I know people catch a cold, I see them with it. They all eat the same. That's what they do. They all are eating the same. That's why they like that. They'll tell you that, you know, your mother had cancer, your grandmother had cancer, more than likely you're going to have cancer because cancer is hereditary. That's when you're blaming something on somebody who's dead who can't defend himself. That's what you're doing when you say it's hereditary. The only thing that's hereditary is death. Everything else is not hereditary. That's stuff you making up yourself. You're making these things happen, and then you want to blame it on somebody else. We don't want to take the blame for the responsibility for being correct. So we always blame stuff on somebody else. A bacteria gave me a cold. A virus gave me a disease. My breath is bad. My breath is bad. I got bad breath. No, you did something bad to your breath, but your breath isn't bad. I got a heart attack. No, your heart didn't attack you. Your heart ain't stupid. It kills you. It kills itself. No, you attacked your heart. You attacked your heart. Your heart did not attack you. So we got to start turning this thing around correctly so we can get to the correct solution. Now, we're looking at the body and we're saying, I don't understand. It's very complicated. It's got a lot of stuff in there. It's got stuff on that side, stuff over there. I don't know what all that stuff is about. Well, we're just going to learn a few things about the body, and you're going to learn just as much as the MD know about it, because they don't know that much about it either. Trust me. They don't know nothing about the stuff. And don't ask them about no herb. They go into the woods and wipe their ass with poison ivy. Don't even ask them about it. So we're talking about, you have 2 kidneys, you have 2 fallopian tubes, you have 2 testicles, you have 2 eyes, you have 2 lungs, and everything in tubes is related to everything in tubes. We call that the law of similar. So I can look in your eyes and find out what's wrong with your fallopian tubes, your kidneys, from your eyes, because it's related to it. Everything in tubes is related to everything in tubes. Kind of simple. Now, you have 2 kidneys, and the kidneys filter things. The kidney's job is, before you pee, the kidney's going to take out the minerals and keep them in your body so you won't piss your life away. That's all the kidney's going to do. It's just going to take out the minerals and recycle them because it doesn't want to lose them. And the kidneys keep a little bit of salt so it can hold that fluid, just a very little bit, less than 5 milligrams. That's all the kidney's going to take. So that's all I need. Keep this machine running. But when you eat table salt, sea salt, and salted food, you're going over the 5 milligrams. And the kidneys say, well, all I can handle is 5 milligrams. So the rest of the salt, it dumps in the blood. And it dumps the salt in the blood, and the salt wants water. So the salt pulls the water out of your veins, your arteries, and your nervous system and creates more water. Now the heart has to pump more water around, which means the heart has to increase the pressure. That's why if you have high blood pressure, they tell you don't eat salt, because it increases the fluid, which increases the pressure and stress on the heart. It's pulling the water, the salt is pulling the water from the nervous system, the veins and arteries, making them stiff. Like a beach, when the water goes out, the sand gets very hard and stiff. And that's what's happening when you eat the salt. It pulls the water out, and the veins and arteries and nerves get stiff and can't function properly, and sometimes they just break. So we're not going to eat the salt, but we want to help the body do what it knows how to do best. Protect and produce life. That's all the body knows. Life is the most important product. That's all it knows. So we don't want to eat the salt. We got 2 kidneys. We only have 1 liver. Everything is on the left side of your body. Everything is on the left. There's only one thing on the right. That's your liver. Your liver's on the right. Everything's on the left. Your heart, your pancreas, your spleen, your stomach. Everything's on the left. So if you got a pain up here, and it goes around your back, you have a liver attack, as people will call it. That's a liver attack. That's not a heart attack, it's a liver attack. You have a headache here, that's low blood sugar. Headache here, high blood sugar. Headache back here, potassium deficiency. Headache over here, liver problem. Headache over here, pancreas problem. Headache in back of your eyes, migraines. Low blood sugar, high blood sugar, no potassium, liver problems, pancreas problems, back of the eyes, migraine. Got it? This doesn't change. Same program. Once you learn it, you got it. Now the kidneys recycling stuff, trying to recycle the minerals, and people that have sugar diabetes, they pee a lot. because the kidneys are trying to dilute all of that sugar in their blood. So the kidneys do two things. It dilutes and concentrates. It has to do something male and something female. The female thing it does is dilute. The male thing it does is concentrate. Every organ does two things, a male thing and a female thing. And you know that much, you're 900 years ahead of any damn doctor. It's got to do two things because it takes two to tango. It takes a negative and a positive on a battery. It takes a negative and a positive on a kidney. It takes two to make energy. To make you, it took two people, a mother and a father. It always takes two to make energy. So when you find something wrong, it's just like you meet somebody, you say, well, I wonder who their people are. Something's wrong, you say, I wonder who their people are. You investigate, find out who their people are. And that's what we do in medicine. We're going to find out who the people are here. Who's involved in this thing? Who's your mother and father? Kids get lost and say, who's your mother and father? You're trying to find out where this kid go. You get a disease, I'm looking around and say, well, where's the mother and father at? Where's the male principal? Where's the female principal? Where's the mother and father? That's all I'm going to do. So we know the kidney does two things. It dilutes and it concentrates. It concentrates the minerals and keeps them in your body. The copper, the iron, the zinc. So if you got an iron deficiency, whose responsibility is it to keep the iron in your body? The kidney. So it's the kidneys that are weak. What are the doctors going to do? Give you iron. Meanwhile, your kidney stays weak. Got it? No, you ain't got it. You just sitting there collecting information, but you're not able to apply it. When you apply information, we call it knowledge. Sitting there listening to me, you ain't learning a damn thing. All you're doing is just collecting words. I'm trying to teach you how to apply it. Now we're trying to apply some stuff here. We're trying to be black. Negro, please. So, look here. So we're talking about understanding this machine. We're saying that kidneys recycle minerals. And I'll ask you a question. If you iron deficiency anemia, whose responsibility is it? Who recycles minerals? And you sit there, kidneys, okay? So, okay, the kidneys were a little too much. I'm just going to go to one organ right now. All right? Now, you don't have technically a digestive system. All you got is a hot air tube that starts at your mouth and ends at your asshole. Right? It's just a hot air tube. The stomach is not an organ, it's not a gland. It's just a bulging of this hot air tube. It's just a tube. You put the food in this tube, it's not in your body. Just like the water in these pipes is not in this building. It's in the tube. The problem is to get the nutrients out of the tube into your body. How do we do that? With hair. How do you see? With hair. How do you hear? With hair. You have something in your ear called a cochlea. It's like a glass full of water, and there's hair inside of it. And when you hear, the water shakes and it moves the hair. And once that hair moves, it changes the sound into a chemical. You hear, but it's the hair that helps you hear. You don't see me without the hair in your eyes being affected. We call it rods and cones. It's hair. See? And the more lively your hair is, the more efficient your machine is. You got hair inside of your intestines. Got holes in it like a straw. And when that food turns into a vapor, it gets sucked through these straws called villi. So you'll eat, but it's hair that's responsible for it. So if there's something wrong with your hair, there's something wrong with every damn thing in your body. You got it? You got a bald head, you got some problems. You losing hair. You losing hair everywhere. Your little sperm can't even move. Your sperm is bald. So we're just talking about some fundamental things here about the body. We got hair involved in this machine. And we're looking at this hair. We put this hair in a microscope and say, oh, look at all these colors in it. Looks like a rainbow. It breaks down into this rainbow. And we look and we put a rat's hair next to our hair. Black folks' hair, you put a rat's hair next to it. A gorilla's hair next to it. It doesn't have those many color bands in it. We got more color bands in our hair. Right. Now you take your hair away and put a rat's hair there, put a white person's hair there, same color bands. That's because white people got fur, but you got hair. You didn't know that, did you? You know that spur. You see it all shaking in the wind. You know how it gets. They be shaking that stuff. Fleas be coming out. I don't want to talk now. I don't want to talk. No, see, I ain't going to go there because this is a scientific thing. As far as I'm concerned, they're just genetic leftover waste. I have something else to say about it. Okay. Now, so in any case, we're saying we got a liver. And the liver is responsible for storing energy for you. It stores energy. We call it glycogen. It stores energy so you never really are tired because you got energy stored in your liver. And your liver helps break down waste in your body. It defends your system. And it recycles stuff. The liver's doing a lot of things. Storing energy, it's breaking down waste. You see, it helps you digest food. So it's doing three things. It's helping you digest food, and it's defending your body, and it's storing energy. So someone who's tired all the time and don't have enough energy, where could the problem be? Okay, if they're catching colds all the time, can't defend their body from any kind of germs, what protects them from waste? So we're getting there. Now we're able to apply this information. Now you're learning like black folks. You know what I mean? They ain't gonna sit there and acting white with me. You're gonna learn this stuff because you gotta take care of yourself because I ain't gonna live forever. I got other missions to accomplish in life. If I keep talking to Negroes, I'm gonna pass out. So we're talking about the liver helps you break down food and all that. So if you're not breaking down your food properly, you're gonna have gas, right? So having gas is also a sign of problems with what? The kidney or the liver? Yeah. So we just did the liver. Now let's go to something else. Let's go to this other gland on the left side. We did the right side, which is the liver. Now we're going to go to the left side. The one that we all know about is the pancreas. That's the one sitting over here, back of your heart. You know, your heart's over here on the left side because everything is on. Deals with whole things. So the pancreas squirts the hormone. The hormone stimulates the breaking down of carbohydrates, which gives you energy. So carbohydrates are quick burning energy. That's the kind of energy you need when you're under stress. And you stay under stress long enough, the pancreas is going to work and work and work until it gets tired. And then you're going to have pancreas problems. But let us just say, you don't know anything about what I'm talking about. You do know what camera is, right? Yeah. And the time for me to stop, because I'll stop. Got plenty of time. Where was I at? Yeah, I don't have to remember. The camera comes from your eye. The speakers come from your ears, and the car motor comes from your digestive system. The car motor duplicates your digestive system. Even if you didn't understand your body, I can take you out to your car and explain it to you. You put the gas in the tank, but your car cannot use it. You put the food in your stomach, your body can't use it. It's got to do something to that food. So your body chews it up and turns it into a liquid. And since your body's at 98.6 or something like that, that heat turns that liquid into a vapor. And the vapor gets sucked into your body through those straws called villi that I talked to you about called hair. Right? And you still can't use this food until it gets activated by enzymes. And enzymes help you break down food, and enzymes in the liver and pancreas, which help you break down food. Liver and pancreas deal with digestion. So you have these enzymes that fire off the food to help you use it. And what's in your car that fires off? Spark plugs. Spark plugs are digestive enzymes. The car motor duplicates your digestive system. And when the car is running bad, you get smoke out the tailpipe, right? When you digesting bad, you get, yeah, there you go, sparking your way to heaven. Use a funk machine. That's what happens when you're not eating properly. Combine the food wrong. Mixing starches with meat. That's a sandwich. The body can't deal with that. It can deal with starch with vegetables, meat with vegetables, but it can't deal with meat and bread together. Starch and meat, starch and protein do not go together. That's the problem with beans. Beans are a starch and a protein when they're unripe. Beans ripe early. Sweet fruit ripe late. But grain fruit ripe early. Ripe rice is partially green. Ripe beans are partially green. Unripe rice is brown. Unripe rice beans are white. Grain fruits ripe early. Sweet fruits ripe late. So when you're eating the beans, they are unripe. So therefore they give you gas. That's why some people soak them in bay leaves or powdered vitamin C to neutralize the gas. But nonetheless, I was alluding to the car motor to help you get an idea that everywhere you look is your body, because everything is copying your body. So don't feel lost about misunderstanding or understanding your body. Just look around and you'll see it everywhere. So let us just say you have some kind of, we did the liver, a little bit of the pancreas, a little bit of the kidneys. We didn't do the heart. The heart pumps blood, only in a small radius, right around here. That's as far as the heart's going to pump the blood. The rest of the way, the journey of the blood is taken on by the veins and arteries. They have muscles in it. They force the circulation. The heart can't pump no blood down to your damn feet. Don't be that stupid. The heart just pumps in a little area right here, and then the muscles in your veins and arteries, and when you walk, you're pumping the blood around. But the heart isn't doing all those things you think it's doing. So the heart must have a female part and a male part, because everything has a female part and a male part. So the left chamber of the heart is male, the right chamber is female. We know that, because everything has to have a male and female. If it's an organ or gland, it has to have a male and female response. It takes two things to tango. So the left chamber is male and the right chamber is female. That's what builds up a whole lot of muscle when people run. The left chamber gets a whole lot of muscles to it. See, because it's pumping that air and all that stuff. When that left chamber gets weak, the person gets a lot of mucus. And they think they're getting cold, but actually the left chamber, their heart getting weak. Let us say that you always getting mucus, and you don't know where it's coming from. You know you're doing the right thing. You're not eating late. You know it takes 3 to 4 hours for your stomach to empty before you go to bed, right? So if you eat at like 8 o'clock, you got to wait 3 hours. 9, 10, 11, you can go to bed at 11 or 12 o'clock, because your stomach is empty. So you're following all these rules. I know you're doing that. And you're not drinking a lot of fluids late at night because you won't be up all night peeing, working your kidney to death, never letting it rest. You don't want to do that. So let us say you know all the rules and you're following because you're doing that. You wake up in the morning, you eat breakfast, you're going to take some cereal, and you're going to mix it with some vegetable milk, because cow's milk or goat's milk don't go with anything. Milk, animal milk does not combine with anything. No animal combines anything with its milk. Not even a pig or a rat. They'll eat the milk. Maybe an hour later they eat something else, but they won't suck a tit. Eat some Wheaties, suck a tit. Ain't that crazy? They don't combine anything with milk. So we're not going to combine anything with cow's milk or goat's milk. Right? Because we know that milk doesn't combine with anything. Because we can see that in nature. Can't we? Yeah. Okay. So we eating this little breakfast in the morning, cereal named after God Sirius, and we using the milk just like Cleopatra, the white one. She used that milk because she thought it was symbolic of semen, so she thought it was, like sexually arousing. That's why she took milk bath, because she pretended it was semen. You know how you pretend that semen, that you're eating semen, like the Greeks, they call it spaghetti. They think they're eating ejaculation. It's like semen. Has anybody seen semen? So they make this spaghetti because it's symbolic of ejaculation. And then they put this cat soup on it, which is the old word for menstruation fluid of a cat. So since they can't get to the menstruation fluid, which they used to use, they use this cat soup. So they put ketchup on the semen, and then they used to eat bowel movements, so they have something that resembles a bowel movement. That's a meatball. So they got semen with ketchup and meatballs, and which is symbolic of turds. And then they got diarrhea on that, which they call gravy. So they eating diarrhea with a bowel movement with semen with menstruation fluid. Yummy, yum. So, or either they eat their cereal with the symbolic semen, and then they eat about 3 or 4 slices of a pig's ass, which they call bacon. So they wake up in the morning and eat a pig's ass. Okay. Then they'll fry a fetus of an animal. Eggs, you call it, when you're killing a baby chicken, just fry the damn fetus and eat it, slurp off the blood and the pus and everything. Yeah, so far it's a good breakfast, I think. I may be missing something there. I don't know. Anyway, let's skip the whole subject. Anyway, when you heat up the milk, you pasteurize it and homogenize it, turns into a plastic pus anyway. So you're just drinking white pus. Tell you. So you have a glass of white pus with the slice of a pig's ass. Oh, let's skip breakfast. Y'all ain't. So after you eat breakfast, it takes 3 to 4 hours for that to leave your stomach, so your stomach can accept the next meal. But if you eat a snack before lunch, then breakfast stays on your stomach. Then you eat lunch, and then you eat a snack after lunch. Then you eat dinner and can't sleep, so you get up and eat another snack. So when you wake up, you still got breakfast, a snack, lunch, a snack, dinner, a snack on your stomach. Then this stuff is sitting in your stomach, fermenting and bubbling and rotting. It's just a bowel movement that's cooking. You know, you got a cooking turd down there. And then when you open your mouth, this fume comes out, you know, like a skunk fart. And then you get this bowel movement backing up to your tongue, and you call that plaque, which is white shit, all around your mouth. And then you get a little toothbrush and brush 2 inches of the turd, and you all the 30 feet down in there. That's funny. Yeah. Then you go to the bathroom and you have a bowel movement. Well, you don't know from what day it is. Just because you have a bowel movement every day, it could be from last week. You know, you look at it, gray hair on it. You know, it's coming out your ass, a senior citizen or something. You know, been up there so long, I got that black ass. So anyway, the turd's well formed like a hot dog, which means you're constipated. And then it should have some air in it because you've eaten fibrous food, right? Raw food, fibrous. But there's no fiber in it, so the turd sinks in the toilet, flushes itself down. Because the turd should actually float. You know? But none of that happens to you anyway. So, I don't think that happens. So you eat your food, you let your stomach empty, you eat your food, let your stomach empty. You don't eat snacks, because no animal eats snacks. You know that. You go to a farm, you never see a cow get up at midnight and eat a snack. Or eat some grass. You never see any animal eat no snack. You know no animal eat no snack. You know that. Because they eat what they're supposed to eat. They eat what they're supposed to eat. When you eat what you're supposed to eat, you don't fart. Have you ever went by a bee that farted? A bird that farted? They don't fart. A donkey, only if it's eating what men have been feeding him. Then he'll fart. Yeah. If they eat what man has given them, then they'll fart. Giving dogs cooked meat, they'll fart too. That's why a lot of dogs are on Prozac and Ritalin in New York. They have ass crazy. They don't know if to bark, meow, or what. Yes.
So is that the reason why? Because dogs are eating what men are eating, they've started eating human beings.
Yeah, they're eating cooked meat, and dogs are not designed to eat cooked meat. Predators only like predators. Europeans are predators, and animals they like are predators. Cats, dogs, eagles, they're all predators. They like predators. So in any case, we're talking about if you're eating that way, then it's causing waste to accumulate in your system. And the body can't get the waste out, so it dumps the waste in the skin, which you call bumps or cysts and tumors. When you're having a lot of bumps on your skin, that's waste in your skin. And if you squeeze that bump and put it under a microscope, you'll see worms in it. It's just little worms, you know, in those bumps. And basically it's like you're shitting in your face. You know, essentially that's all you're doing. And then people got the nerve to say, give me a kiss. You need to sit on the toilet with your face. You need to call your face Charmin or something. You know, get out of here, Miss Charmin. But anyway, I didn't mean to go there. So nonetheless, the body's trying to dump out this waste, and it dumps it in the skin, or it dumps it in the joint, and then it gets hard, and we call it arthritis. Because the salt and the sugar's pulling the moisture out of the joints, and the joints don't have the moisture anymore, and then they rub them together. You call it arthritis. So whenever you hear that word itis, you know it's an inflammation. So what you're going to take is cat's claw, or a supplement called MSM. MSM, methylsulfonate methane. Those are anti-inflammatories. They're used for all types of inflammation. Tonsillitis, appendicitis, vaginitis, any itis, you use cat's claw, MSM, it gets rid of it. No problem. But it's the body trying to get rid of the waste in the only way it knows how, or it dumps the waste in the muscles, and you call that rheumatism. Just waste dumped in the muscles. All the time the body is doing something to defend itself. It's not doing anything to hurt itself. The body is not trying to hurt itself. The food is impacting your colon. It's not moving out, so the body can't push it out with water because you're not drinking enough water. You divide your weight by 2, and that gives you how many fluid ounces of water you should drink a day. So if you weigh 200 pounds, that's 100, that's about 10 glasses of water a day. See? You divide your weight by 2. You weigh 100 pounds, divided by 2, that's 50, that's 5 glasses of water a day. That's just the minimum amount of water you need to stop from dehydrating. That has nothing to do about the water you should be drinking. That's just the minimum amount you can get away with. So the body's just trying to cleanse itself by dumping waste in the muscle. You call it rheumatism. But remember, it's dumping waste in all the muscles. The heart, the prostate, the uterus, all the muscles is dumping it in. You just feel it in your legs, and you call it rheumatism. It's dumping waste in all the joints in your ear, the oscillals, it's dumping in your joints, you call it, it's dumping it in all the joints. But you just can feel it in your legs because you're putting so much weight on it. But it's dumping it in all the joints. Then you have to understand, when you're eating these kind of combinations of food, which we call junk food, your body is acid. And acid, wherever that is, it's the loss of moisture and an increase of carbon dioxide. Acid increases carbon dioxide, which is a poison, and you lose moisture wherever there's acid. Alkalinity is an increase of oxygen and an increase of moisture. But acid, the loss of moisture, the loss of oxygen. So when you're eating these junk foods, salt, sugar, fried foods, you're increasing the poison in your system, which means you're aging, you're deteriorating. There's not enough oxygen in your cells, so you're deteriorating. That's why 1 out of every 2 black men have prostate disease. 60% of all black women have fibroid tumors. 1 out of 3 black couples can't even conceive a child. They're infertile. And they're wondering why. They just figure if they screw themselves to death, they have a baby. But it don't work that way. A stiff dick can't solve all problems. I wish it could. I didn't mean to go there. I got that. I'm not being professional at this point. So in any case, we're talking about trying to get rid of this waste in a logical way. We don't want to use poisons, which you call aspirin, Tylenol, ibuprofen. We don't want to use poison. We want to use nature, because nature knows more about us, because we are nature. So we want to go to nature, because we are from nature to solve our problems. So we want to follow the laws of nature, which will keep us in our nature. To be out of your nature is to be out of your mind. To be off your diet is to be off your culture. Culture defines what you eat. When Asians come to London, Koreans, they open up a market and send for that damn food. They can't eat unless they see Korea on the plate or China on the plate. They know food is associated with culture. They know that. They can't even eat unless they see Korea on the plate. You see? So in some kind of way, we have lost it. But we're not able to define our wellness correctly. Now, we say we have a general idea of what's going on. We eat 3 meals a day. We have 3 bowel movements a day. We drink an adequate amount of water. We're exercising, right? You're exercising. The body's built to move. That's why you have all these levers and stuff. The body is built to move. So you have to move the body because it's built to move. So we're exercising and we are having the proper bowel movements. And one of my things is perfume-scented toilet paper. That gets me. That really gets me. You know, I can't deal with that. I mean, I got issues, I agree. But that one, I can't deal with. Perfume-scented toilet paper. And you know your ass can't smell it, right? So why do you buy it? That's what gets me. Why do you buy it? You ain't got no nose stuck up your ass. But, you know, that one gets me. That one gets me. Only thing I like about toilet paper is white. And I tell everyone, I say, take this shit home. Never mind. I won't get over that. I lost my professionalism. But nonetheless, we're talking about eating properly, combining our food properly, and now we're using our food as medicine. Because food is medicine, and medicine is food. Your food should be your medicine. These herbs just help you buy time so you can change your diet. You should not be relying on them unless you live in a polluted city with polluted air, polluted water. That's another issue. That's one thing. But I'm just saying, your food should be your medicine. So let us just say you have this crisis. You're losing bone. Now we know that the people that control medicine are military people. The people that founded this science called medicine are military people. Hippocrates, all these guys, Galen, Paracelsus, were military doctors. So their whole approach to the body is just to patch it up and send it back into combat. They're not trying to heal nothing. They're just trying to get you back to kill somebody. That's it. Patch you up, put the gun back in your hand, go kill some more. That's a military approach to health. So if something happened in this room, all of us are injured, you go to the hospital, they're going to set up a military approach. They call it a triage. That's military. You treat the injury that doesn't require a lot of labor first. The ones that require a lot of labor, you just do that last. In other words, if you come to the hospital and it's a triage, and you got a hangnail, and the other person got a heart attack, who's going to get treated? Person with the hangnail. And because we all been educated that we have a certain criteria for beauty and ugly, you know what I mean? Hospital workers are just like you. They don't want to treat nobody ugly. Because when somebody ugly get healthy, they just look more ugly. You know, ugly to ugly. Who would do that? So they treat the person that looks good first. The person that's attractive get better treatment in the hospital. What I'm saying is, if you have like a Halle Berry, you know that little slut that did oral sex in that movie, Halle Berry's, and she go to the hospital and Whoopi Goldberg, you heard of her? She changed her name to Goldberg. She thought that was a Jewish name. Anyway, so if Whoopi Goldberg goes to the hospital, Halle Berry goes to the hospital, who's going to get the better treatment? Halle Berry. So what I'm saying is you need to fix yourself up before you go to the hospital. Because some of y'all are very challenging. Fix yourself up. Look good. Iron your clothes and stuff. Iron your drawers if necessary. Look good when you go there. Or the better yet, if you're ugly, get an ugly doctor. 5 minutes? Yeah, only got 5 minutes. I didn't go too far. What? Oh, we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break in 5 minutes. I like structure. They know I like to be told what to do. Because I don't want to be responsible for myself. Because when I let my brain guide me as to what to do, 30 years ago I ate a candy bar. I drank a soda and I smoked a joint. I know right away I'm going to burn in hell. My brain led me to some stupid stuff, but when I started getting more spiritual, that stuff went away. I said, look, this is God's temple. I ain't messing up this. This is God's property. When you start putting that spiritual thing in it, you don't mess up your body like your brain will teach you to. Your brain gets you to do some stupid things. You know that. So you gotta let that God be the bottom line, top line, side line, so you won't mess up your holy temple. Because this is about honoring God's property. And you don't want to defame and foul God's temple with some old pig foot. Black people just eat pig feet because they're trying to run away from white people. They eat chicken wings because they're trying to fly away from their problems. That's why y'all eat chicken wings. And by the way, I ain't never seen a chicken with titties before in my life. Where you get chicken breasts from? That's dumb. So we're gonna take a break. Yeah, I got tapes over there and Nubi, you gonna talk now, man.
Alright, we're going to take a break for 15 minutes. There's food being served.
But you have to go through this.
Yeah, there's food being served. There's audio tapes over there that you can take a look at, purchase.
And also, introduce something that you don't know.
We're getting ready to start back again, so if we could get a little quiet in here, we can hear people's questions and all. I think I had one question about malaria and another about epilepsy. I think that's what it was. Yeah, malaria and epilepsy. Epilepsy is nerve damage. And again, with nerve damage, as I mentioned before, we use lipoic acid and glutamine for nerve damage. And epilepsy is the damaged nerves, which cause the firing off to be sporadic and in bursts. So we're using lipoic acid and glutamine. And what triggers the epileptic attack is usually acidity. When the acid level gets high, it hits the threshold and the person goes into attack. So we have to maintain alkalinity with epilepsy, and that would be with a herb like phenol, which will maintain alkalinity. Of course, quassia would do that as well, but phenol is pleasant tasting, so I suggest using phenol and fever to strengthen the nerves, along with the other supplements I mentioned before, lipoic acid and, of course, glutamine. Malaria is simply another word for fever, which we treat with cat's claw and MSM. If you want the person to sweat out the fever, we use hyssop. But it's simply to avoid that when you take wormwood with you when you travel abroad to other countries, because parasites is the leading cause of illnesses in the world, parasites. So you get a herb called wormwood, which is a broad spectrum antihelmintic. Kills a variety of different worms, including fish worms, which are the worst, the ones the fish carry. Worse than any kind of worm. I think those are two questions that was passed. Are there any more questions there before I just keep wormwood? Yes, it's a broad spectrum. It kills a large variety of worms. A lot of the worms do not look like snakes. Don't think that a worm has to look like snakes. Some of the worms look like flying saucers. Some are transparent. You can see right through them. And heat does not kill them, as you know. They'll stay alive in a frying pan. So don't think that you can kill worms with heat. You can't do that. Especially with the new variety of clone worms. That's another subject altogether, actually. I don't think I want to talk about that. No. Okay, is there any more questions? Causes of mucus.
Especially in babies.
Especially in babies. Are they on the breast?
Yeah.
Then it's the mother's fault. Okay.
So what comes?
Yeah. I didn't want you to pull out the evidence. Let's go back with this bone loss so you have to know whether this is, when a person's very acid, usually their bone structure is deteriorating. And the first place you lose bone is in your lungs. It's softer to get the minerals out of the lungs than out of the long bones. You can burn a human body and the long bones will be there. It takes a lot of energy to pull minerals out of some bones, so the body goes to where it can get it the quickest. And in that case, it goes to the lungs. So you lose bones in the lungs first, the reproductive organs second, the teeth third, and the long bones fourth. oftentimes people have a cold, but actually it's bone loss. That's why I went to the bone loss before. Now, if the child is having problems with the mucus, it may be because they're not able to break down the nutrients in the breast milk too well, because the breast milk doesn't have the right viscosity. The breast milk doesn't have the right thinning capacity, which means the mother has to do something for her liver and her pancreas so she can break down the fat properly. Remember that breast milk is 60% fat, polysaturated fat. That's like what people call lard, fat that gets hard at room temperature. That's polysaturated fat that the body lives off of. It can't live off of polyunsaturated fat, it lives off of saturated fat. But that's the saturated fat that the body makes. So to get the fat in the right consistency so the baby can digest it, the mother has to take dandelion root for the liver, bilberry for the pancreas, and to those two herbs fennel. And that will help. Fennel, F-E-N-N-E-L, helps the mother make milk. But the dandelion root is going to help the lady's liver, which is probably stressed, and it's going to help the pancreas, which is probably stressed. But the baby has a tendency to want to nurse on the breast that's closest to the heart. Yeah, so you want to switch it to the other breast because the baby was born hearing the mother's heartbeat, so it always wants to hear the heart. The baby's basically on the mother's chemistry until it's about 2 years old. Then the baby switches to its own chemistry, and you call that terrible twos. But that's when the baby's finally detaching from the mother. Even though the baby's outside the womb, it's biochemically still in the womb. You see, it's a tricky process there. And the baby can get sick for the mother. If the mother gets stressed, the baby's part of the mother's chemistry. So the baby will get sick for the mother oftentimes. If the mother gets upset, the baby will get upset. And the first sign of upset baby is nausea and vomiting. And if you pick the baby up, I can't really get past that one. I know you don't have no titties, man. Oh, that don't mean nothing. I was breastfed myself, so I know what the child's going through. I went from titty to titty, now I go from city to city. But in any case, we're talking about helping to get that breast milk in the right viscosity. And you're not eating anything wrong, you're not eating late. Okay, it's your titty, right? Oh, okay, your wet nurse, okay. No, I'm just saying you're not eating starch, you're not eating chocolate, you're not eating garlic or beans. No, don't eat the garlic. If you must have that ginger, the mustard oil, use ginger. But see, ginger is going to drop the milk. I wouldn't do the garlic. Nah, you can't handle it too well. Are your cheeks red because they're painted red or are they red? Okay, you don't want to do that. Red cheeks is a sign of not enough blood. Europeans make diseases fashionable. So they paint their cheeks red even when they're not red to show that they don't have enough blood. Like a white person gets drunk, they be beet red, so they don't have enough oxygen. So they put the red on their cheeks to look like they're sick because that's when they think they're healthy. Yeah, that's right.
I have a question.
Is that 2 fingers or 1 finger? Thank you.
My question was, I heard recently that in the black community that they have, there's been a study that shows that they've got diabetes because of early weaning. I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if you know that's true or not.
There's a study in the black community that people have diabetes because they were weaned early off the breast.
Well, yeah.
Okay, now what's the other part you were
The other
saying?
part was, what's your advice about first weaning foods?
The first
babies.
foods that the baby should eat when they come off the breast.
Yeah, and what kind of age they should come off the breast as well.
And what age should they come off the breast? Oh, we just gonna talk about titty all night. Wait. Wait. Okay, I'm just I'm repeating your question so they can hear it. I hear you quite clearly, but I'm just repeating for them. That's why I'm doing that. So, we're talking about breast milk. Let us talk about breast milk. So, the thing that we're dealing with here is the fact that the milk can change its vitamin and mineral content from one hour to another based on what the baby needs. If the baby needs vitamin A, the baby will make the mother change the milk by squirting out this fume from their hormones that we call pheromones, which will regulate the mother's system. The baby does that. Before the baby is born, the baby is regulating the mother's system with a hormone called lactogen, which the baby squirts out of their placenta, because the placenta is a part of the baby and not a part of the mother. And the placenta takes over the pregnancy and shifts the mother's hormone level and vitamin level around to meet the baby's needs. The baby will kill the mother to survive. Will strip her of all her bones, vitamins, and minerals to survive. The baby is in charge of the pregnancy, not the mother. So we're talking about the baby has this hormone that controls the mother's vitamin and mineral level, but it also controls the thickness of the amniotic fluid. The amniotic fluid is this water that the baby sits inside of the uterus. So when the mother walks, it cushions the baby, so it's like the baby's inside of a water bed. The amniotic fluid has a certain consistency and smell and taste, because the baby can smell, taste, touch, and hear and see when it's in the mother's stomach, womb. So when everything is harmonious and everything, that amniotic fluid is of the right consistency. But if the mother's stressed, the amniotic fluid becomes acidic, which triggers a stress reaction in the child, which makes the child have a fear response. They say, uh-oh, something happened to the mother, I may die. So the child has a fear response, and then when the child is born with a fear response, if you pick them up, they do their hands like this, or do their fingers like this, or do like that. That's a fear response in a baby. If they stiffen their legs, they are afraid. That's a fear response. That you don't want to see. When a child has a fear response, it causes them to lose the capacity to bond to the mother and bond to themselves and bond to their father. It's of optimum importance that the baby be able to hear the father, because by hearing the father, it causes the pineal gland to spin in orbit. The baby smells the mother, hears the father, and those two things cause a gland in the center of the head called a pineal gland to get on an earth spin. If that doesn't happen, the child will have bonding problems forever. In that case, they will tend to go to the breast on the left-hand side because they have a bonding problem. If they did not have a bonding problem, they will go to the male breast, which is the breast on the right side, then go to the left breast. But if they go to the left first and the right second, they have a bonding problem, which is a stress reaction in the child, which means they will have problems bonding to themselves or bonding to someone else. More than likely, the child will be what we call a relationship junkie. They have one relationship, then they break up, have another relationship. It's like they're a relationship junkie. They don't want the relationship to last. They just want to break up and get another relationship. They just are relationship junkies. So you have to break that whole cycle by increasing the fat in the milk. That's why I went to the liver, because fat has that capacity to make the hormones to cause this bonding damage to be repaired. The fat has the capacity, you make hormones out of fat. So what I'm trying to do is shift the hormone level in the child to get out of the fear response. The only way I can do that is to trigger the liver to break down the fat correctly, emulsify the fat so the baby can get it. But remember that formula milk does not change vitamin mineral ratio like the baby wants. It stays on a steady state, and that is not natural. Aside from that, all formula milk is based on the fat and protein ratio of a white woman's titty milk, which causes the baby to reduce its ability to suck on a nipple and bond to the mother and bond to itself and bond to its culture. And who wants to suck on a white woman's mayonnaise titty anyway? But in any case, we got all these problems in our community. And I'm not just saying it's your fault. We were all miseducated. That's what happened. We were terribly miseducated about breast milk, about sex, about food, about each other. So it's a problem there. And so I don't think all of it can be healed in this generation. The hope is to give our children a condition so they can find a solution. Because our brain is burnt out. You know, all we going around singing sex songs, we shall overcome, and stuff like that. We're really whacked out. But our children, we got to set the conditions so they can solve the problem, but we can't solve it. If we could, we've done it already. Grown-ups are a trick, you know what I mean? Children are better. They're better people. I didn't mean to go off like that. You know, that's fine. So, you going to do that?
You said trigger the liver.
We're going to trigger the liver with the dandelion root. That's what we're going to do. She should eat some lecithin as well. Lecithin. With her food, so she can break down the fats properly, so she gets the proper fats in the milk. Okay? You know you shouldn't have sex while you're breastfeeding, right? No, you're not supposed to have sex while you're breastfeeding, because that changes your hormone from progesterone to a stress hormone called testosterone. And you don't want to change the hormone level, because that's going to cause stress on the baby. So you really shouldn't biologically screw around.
Are you trying to break up our relationship?
I'm trying to protect the baby's titties. That's all I'm doing. But that changes the ratio, the hormone ratio, from progesterone to a stress hormone, testosterone, and that stresses the baby. And rats don't have sex when they're pregnant. Pigs. No animal has sex when the female's pregnant, except slaves that were taught to breed, taught to have sex all the time, to make babies all the time, so the white man could have money. We were taught to breed. That's what we were brought here to do. We were taught to breed and serve white people, and that's what we do. We serve white people today. That's what we do. I don't mean to get on nobody, but you tell your husband that you're trying to protect the breast milk of his seed, right? Because that's all it's about. It's about his seed, right? You know, tell him the kitchen is closed, no cookies, whatever. You know. What I'm supposed to be answering questions or continue with what I was doing?
What happens when he goes to another kitchen?
What happens when he goes to another kitchen? The problem with that is this. That
It's true. It's true. It's real life. It's true. I mean,
I don't know if I should answer the question. Well, what happens is that the oil from the other lady gets into his skin. Even if he takes a bath, the smell of the other lady will be on him. And even if he's clean and come home, she still knows he did it. And probably he's going to reach for the titty in the wrong position, because everybody's titty is not in the same place. Sometimes you be reaching up here and the titty over there, and she said, uh-oh, something wrong there. You know. So you really can't wash out that oil. It takes about 3 days. No, I ain't going to tell you that. It's about 3 days for the oil to come out, actually. Yeah. Let's not get too black in this conversation. So, is there any more? How to heal? Heal what? A broken relationship or what? How to maintain balanced health in a toxic environment. All of us are not going to be saved. That's just the way it is. Some of us will see through the cracks. Maybe 30% of us will make it, but the rest of us are going to be dysfunctionalized by being oppressed, by not being allowed to practice our culture. That's the price you pay for being oppressed. You just can't get out of this thing unscarred until you're free. Then you won't get these scars. And you can't get free unless you educate your own children. I mean, but in any case, we're just dealing with survival. How can we survive under these conditions? Because I ain't going to change. I'm going to screw this. I'm going to have sex while the woman's breastfeeding, and I may walk out and slipping up on a piece. I mean, not that I want to, but it just fell in my lap. Yeah, okay. So in any case, what you do is self-defense, and you would need something like red clover, burdock root, echinacea, golden seal, dandelion root, astragalus. With this bad air, you're going to need some horehound, elecampane, or colt's foot. These are respiratory herbs. Colt's foot, elecampane, pleuroseed, chickweed, mullein. You would constantly have to take one of these herbs every week or a combination because of the air and because of the pollution from the environment, the radiation. The food that you eat is all sprayed with chemicals. So you're going to need the red clover, the burdock root, the echinacea, golden seal, to constantly take those single or in combination to flush out the toxins from the meat that you're eating, from the water you're taking a bath in, from the fumes from your clothes, from the chemicals that are in it, which cause cancer, from the fumes from the carpet that cause sterility, from the radiation from these bricks. So you constantly have to take these herbs to constantly flush the toxins out. And then, of course, the only way you really can maintain some idea of wellness is to be inside of your culture, because to practice the African culture will make you spiritual. You don't have to learn a religion, just practice the culture, because the culture is founded on spirituality anyway. So you have to go back into your culture to define what is a male and female relationship. Is it about you with somebody so they can entertain you intellectually, entertain you sexually, entertain you with conversation, or are you with somebody to serve God? When you get into that aspect, then you'll be in Africa. The purpose of me being with this lady is because she gives me the opportunity to serve God by serving her. And then you're into a whole other way of having a relationship. Other than that, I'm with her for my sexual entertainment. You see? And that's not what the relationship's supposed to be about. Not a drive-by booty call. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
One of the issues that I think for us as a community, one of the issues for us as a community is our young people. So although we are practicing, as far as I'm concerned, I'm practicing good health, or practicing, good diets and so on, young people want to eat junk food. You can talk to them till you're blue in the face and they still want to run down the road and get McDonald's and this and that. And what do we do as parents? Because I'm always telling my children, don't eat that, drink this, give them a list of stuff, and they still feel that the media or whatever's out there literally dominates society. So we've got a real battle on our hands as parents, as carers, as people, as a whole.
Yeah. So what the question centered about is what you do when you have a child addicted to junk food. They're coming home and now they're your enemy. They bring in a war home that you weren't even ready for. You figure that love can do with all these things you think it could do. It doesn't work that way. Children are controlled by rewards and punishments. You have to set up rewards and punishments to control their behavior. If you give them a reward, you better have a punishment. If you don't have a punishment, don't give them a reward. The children are more conscious of their needs than you are. You're conscious of the bills you have to pay, getting to work, fixing the meals, but all the child's conscious of is what they need and how to get it. So you are set up to be manipulated, and a parent that doesn't think they're being manipulated is manipulated. You got to know the tricks of the trade. I have a tape out there on how to control teenagers where I go through all their manipulation devices. 2-hour tape. I just take you through everything and how to combat it. Because we have to start approaching this situation from the way the children are educated. They're educated by military people. Military people always play for their advantage. They don't care about tomorrow, they just care about today. McDonald's will wake up tomorrow morning and start all their commercials. They don't trust you. They don't trust you. Tomorrow morning they're going to start all their commercials again. Won't they? They play for the advantage today. They never plan for the future, they just plan for today. So you got to start learning how to manipulate and control your child through rewards and punishments. It's not going to work any other way. You got to plan an attack on these kids. If they get their heads together, other children talk to other children, exchange ways to get over on the parents. Children know how, if you've broken up in a broken relationship, the child knows how to look like the man that ain't there. They'll make that face to look like that man to get on your damn nerves. So they manipulate you. They are masters of it. They study psychology. Jerry Springer, Oprah, all of those psychology shows. You think they're talk shows. Those are psychology shows. They teach them how to manipulate and control. And you got to learn that language. You got to manipulate and control. All manipulations work on rewards and punishments. That's how they work. If you give them a reward, you damn sure better have a punishment or never give them the reward. You got to have backup. They will wear your ass out. Because the more punishments you give, the more you give away your energy, and pretty soon you'll get tired. And that's what they want to do. They want to do a whole lot of damn bad things so you can set up all these punishments to maintain. No, you can't use the phone. No, you got to wash the dishes. Meanwhile, you're getting stressed. Then you actually get all stressed. Then they flip in and do the thing they want to do in the first place. You know what I mean? They set up, they plotted this whole attack on you. You think they're children? I'll be damned. They're your enemy. You got to start plotting on them. So, learn these techniques, how to manipulate and control them. But essentially, they have been chemically altered. They are not the children of the 50s and 60s. These are chemical children. I have a tape on chemical children, how to manipulate and control them. They are chemicalized. They were born with chemicals, oxytocin. All these chemicals the white people set in them. Oxytocin causes cultural amnesia. That's what that drug does. They squirt it in you to speed up your contraction and all that stuff. That drug causes cultural amnesia, which means you can't connect to Africa. There's a block there. These people know what they're doing. So we're talking about you're dealing with chemical children. And you cannot approach chemical children like long ago. I love you. I want the best for you. You're just being had when you come that way. You see? You got to approach this thing totally different. They're cultural? No. The culture they know is white culture. And white culture is about aggression and ripping you off. They want to exploit you. That's what they're taught to do, exploit the parents. You see? And the only thing someone who's a slave or doesn't have weapons and guns and all that stuff, the thing they use to manipulate and control like an old person, the only thing they have when they're old is food and their drugs. And so they'll say, I don't want to take my drugs. You get all upset with your mother or somebody, because the only thing they have to use for power is food and their drugs and bowel movements. Babies are famous for using a bowel movement. You get all angry, upset, and say, well, take this shit. And they shit on themselves. You know, you say, I got to clean the diaper. They know they're getting to you. So they're going to use food, you follow me? Bowel movement to manipulate you. You think it's all innocent. No. Shit is a good way to manipulate somebody. So we got to look at this thing totally different. We got chemical children. And we're trying to unchemicalize them. We cannot use Sigmund Freud's techniques, which were put in a book by a man named Dr. Spock. He's the founder of How to Raise Your Children. All research is based on Dr. Spock. And Dr. Spock and his wife were in a Sigmund Freud study group for 15 years before they wrote the book. All in the book is sexual symbolism. The children are sexually orientated. All they know is sexual symbolism. Thongs, you know, you're not paying attention to stuff. Even the Lion Kings. If you put it on freeze, when those two lions fall in the leaves, the words pop up and says sex. Put it on freeze and you'll see it. Walt Disney, homosexual that he was, Warner Brothers, him and his gay self, all they use is sexual symbolism in the cartoons. The first homosexual marriage children seen was Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny get married. Nothing but a drag queen. I'm telling you, all they're doing is watching all these sexual things in the morning. Hell, if you watch some cartoons in the morning, you liable to get horny yourself. I'm telling you. nothing more horny than them cartoons. I'm telling you. Never mind. So, in any case, we're talking about understanding that they're using sex as a vocabulary to control. Sex, you think, is that they having, look, the children in elementary school, the teacher leaves the room, they had an orgy. I'm talking about oral sex included. So what I'm saying is sex to you is sex and it's bad for children, but sex is a form of power. They don't know nothing about sex, they know about power. You ask anybody that's done rape counseling, they tell you they get raped, not about sex. Rape is about power. Sex is about power to military people. So they're using sex to manipulate you. That's why they put on these hoochie mama clothes and all that. They know it makes you feel bad. Oh Lord, what happened to my child? What happened? You know, that's setting you up. Now you're going to spend money on them to try to patch up your dysfunctionality for not being able to raise them. They just use that to get more stuff out of you, more gadgets and stuff like that. You're looking at it a whole nother way. They got a whole nother game going on. This is a whole nother lecture. This is the exercise I take people through. I have somebody pretend to be a child, and I teach the people how to deal with this freak. I mean, with this dysfunctional child. I mean, it's a workshop. I mean, don't think you can get everything just one evening with me talking. I'm saying you have to go through this thing. You have to work at this. And sitting there listening to me ain't going to get it to you. Because a lot of y'all upset because I'm talking about your children like that. Yeah, I'm talking about your children. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I hope so.
Okay. I want you to address the situation that is bombarding America as well as here, which is the chemtrails that operate in the skies. A lot of people are oblivious to it, but I recognize what's going on. But I'd like you to elaborate for the massive then, to let them know what's going on. A lot of people are saying, oh, I feel tired, but it's because of the chemtrails that they're breathing in. What say you, Doc?
This standard military stuff is not nothing exceptional. Basically, they use the sky as what you call a speaker. And they bounce certain rays off to the sky, and they can alter your behavior. It is nothing new. It's just that when you hear about it, it's 20 years old. Trust me. You think they clone in cells by splicing an animal cell with a plant cell. They don't use that anymore. They use radiation to clone things. They've gone to another level of their game altogether. When they tell you something, it's 20 years old. So you don't have the mind that they have. You can't think that kind of deception. You got all this love and African stuff in your brain. I'm trying to get you to think white. You can't think this level of deception. They are masters of this thing. You know, we got to go with our strength. They're going with their strength. Our strength is spiritual. They can't touch that. We're just too close to God for them to mess with. They say, I put these niggas in slavery, they still here. I gave them crack, they're still here. Nothing defeats us. Nothing. And that's what scares the hell out of them. The thing they're most afraid of is black women. It's not us black men, it's a black woman. She can produce black seeds. They're afraid. The next Marcus Garvey's gonna come out of your womb. That's what they're afraid of. That's why they want to mess you up. They already whacked us up, you know that. We wearing jerry curls and bling bling. You know we gone. Get a 40, go to the club. We whacked. They have to. But no, they use this kind of chemicals in the air, and they control you with chemical vapors, and they use a whole lot of military techniques on you. They practice all of that before they take it into, like, Iraq. All that's perfected on civilian personnel, especially in the prisons. That's where they really test chemicals, perfume, everything. We're the guinea pigs. Yes, and I want to stay close to the diet and sugar and diabetes. Yes, thank you. Yes, sir.
I was going to ask you a question about the water that we drink. You said something about the water, but I remember you saying one time about that they actually have the right to, there's a document that gives them the right to actually test chemicals in the water on the people.
Oh yeah, that's a given. That's a given. They do have the right to do that.
Does that apply for here as well, or is it just America? You talk about America.
Well, the American water supply is controlled by Italians and Germans. They own the rights to the water in the U.S. America is a European country. Y'all think it's America is a European country. The Federal Reserve is not a part of America, it's a part of Europe. People pay taxes and it's collected by the Federal Reserve, not the American government. The American government borrows the money from the Federal Reserve. That's why the American government is in debt. The Federal Reserve is a private corporation that has papers in Italy, Germany, and over here. Most of the land in New York is owned by the Queen. America is a European country, controlled by Europeans. It's just like a bastard part of Europe. I mean, you know, but y'all think it's America. I know better. I live in that funk. But nonetheless, the thing is that the water supply is like medical doctors. You tell a medical doctor, I'm in the herbs, I want to take natural things. And he has these drugs that have been approved by the government. So he figures that the government approved it, it can't be that wrong. What are you complaining about? It's not that he doesn't trust the herb, he trusts the government. And the government has all these scientists saying, hey, this drug is not that bad. So he figured you just talking a bunch of crap. But he's not against you, he just trusts his culture over yours. They believe in their culture. And so he trusts his scientists over whatever you want to talk about. Even though there's some medical doctors who prove the herbs are right, they just figure that's just a renegade. So it's a thing that you have to stand up for your health for yourself. It's your responsibility. All these natural doctors and herbalists and massage therapists that you have, mostly in the business to rip your black ass off. They're not about helping you. I was once taught that any preacher that has more than 2 suits is a hustler. So you got to understand this whole thing. It's about the money. It's not about helping you. And I'm just going off the subject, and I don't want to go there because black folks have a tendency to look at money as wealth. But white folks don't see money as wealth. White folks see money as stored labor. If you got $1 million, you can control 100,000 people. That's what they see money as, stored labor. You see it as wealth. That's why they jump out the window before they go broke. They say, I'm broke, I'm going to jump the hell out the window. I will not live without power. You say they're crazy. No, I say they're all right. Like before I live without power, I'll jump out the damn window. That's what happens when they lose their money. That's why they shoot themselves. They still killing themselves at gambling casinos. They just don't put it in the paper. Those Indians, those Chinese and Indians, the way they gamble, please. They kill themselves before they live without money. It's not about money, it's about power. That's what it's about. But you're missing the whole boat here. It's about power. Power is people, not money. People represent power, not money. Money is stored labor, which is stored people. But we see it as wealth. Well, let's get out of this whole economic and all that social talk. I'm going to get upset, and I don't want to go there because I'm a health practitioner. I'm supposed to be in harmony and peace and all that kind of stuff. But don't go there. Just ask me something about your little constipated ass so I can help you out.
Can this be the last question, please?
Yeah.
Very last question.
Very last question.
What's the possibility that herbs may be phased out or banned? I mean, because they're going to keep in the state of sickness.
That's not a possibility. It comes under the United Nations. The Codex program, that is a legal program. That's why they don't sell the herbs at the therapeutic dosage or the vitamins. They're not at the therapeutic range where it's chosen to be effective. So they know you want something healthy, and you go in and buy it, but they don't have it at the strength that you need to maintain your health. So you're not getting a therapeutic range. Then when you tell somebody black who buys a vitamin, you got to take 3 times as much. Taking all that, the label says only take 2. You know? You see what I mean? You run into this whole thing. But they set it at a low dosage so you will never get healthy taken. You have to double or triple what's on the label to get in the range of any kind of health there. But you're right about the Codex program coming to the United Nations. They have to get a prescription pretty soon to get the vitamins and the herbs and all that sort of thing. But that was the last question. That was the last question. Plus you were holding up one finger. We all know better. that was the last question. Thank you very much.